Imagine for a moment that you are holding a puzzle with thousands of pieces, each one representing a fragment of ancient history, religious texts, and scholarly debates. Now, picture this puzzle as the Hebrew Bible, specifically the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. These books are not just a collection of stories and laws. They are a complex tapestry woven from various sources, each with its own distinct voice, theology, and historical context. For centuries, scholars have grappled with the question of how these sources came together to form the text we know today. This video will delve into the intricate world of biblical source criticism, focusing on the theory of JEDP and the debates surrounding the dating and composition of the Pentateuch. The Pentateuch is often referred to as the Torah, the Law, or the 5 books of Moses. Traditionally, it has been believed that Moses himself wrote these books, receiving divine inspiration from God. However, this view has been challenged by the rise of critical scholarship, which began to take shape in the 18th and 19th centuries. The theory that has dominated this field for over a century is known as the documentary hypothesis, or the JEDP theory. According to this hypothesis, the Pentateuch is not a single unified text, but a compilation of 4 distinct sources: J. Jahwist, E. Elohist, D. Deuteronomist, and P. Priestly. The Jahwist source, often abbreviated as J, is believed to be the oldest of the 4. It is characterized by its use of the name Yahweh, or Yahweh in German, for God, and its focus on the southern kingdom of Judah. The Jahwist narrative is rich in storytelling, and often presents a more human-like God, who interacts directly with the patriarchs and other figures. For example, in Genesis chapter 4, verses 26, the Jahwist source suggests that people began calling on the name of Yahweh well before the time of Moses. This source is also known for its vivid and detailed accounts of the early history of the Israelites, including the stories of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. The Elohist source, or E, is the second oldest, and is distinguished by its use of the term Elohim, for God. Unlike the Jahwist, the Elohist tends to present a more distant and less anthropomorphic deity. The Elohist source is also more focused on the northern kingdom of Israel, and often emphasizes the role of prophets and religious leaders. In Exodus chapter 3, verses 13 to 15, the Elohist source states that the name Yahweh was first revealed to Moses at the burning bush, which is a significant theological difference from the Jahwist account. The Deuteronomist source, or D, is primarily found in the book of Deuteronomy, and is believed to have been written in the 7th century BC during the reign of King Josiah. The Deuteronomist source is characterized by its emphasis on the centralization of worship in Jerusalem, and its call for social justice and ethical living. The Deuteronomist also revises and reinterprets earlier sources, often integrating them into a coherent narrative that reflects the religious and political concerns of the late monarchy. Finally, the priestly source, or P, is the latest of the 4, and is thought to have been written in the 6th or 5th century BCE, during or after the Babylonian exile. The priestly source is primarily concerned with ritual, law, and the institutions of the priesthood. It provides detailed instructions for worship, sacrifices, and the maintenance of purity, which are central to later Judaism. The priestly source is often seen as the foundation of the Jewish religious tradition, though this view has been contested by scholars who argue that it represents a later, more developed form of Judaism. The development of the JEDP theory was a significant breakthrough in biblical scholarship, but it has not been without its critics. One of the most influential figures in this debate was Julius Wellhausen, a German scholar who lived from 1844 to 1918. Wellhausen's work, particularly his Prolegomena to the History of Israel, laid the foundation for the modern understanding of the Pentateuch's composition. Wellhausen proposed that the priestly source was the latest of the four, and that it postdated the other sources, including the Deuteronomist. This was a controversial claim at the time, as it suggested that the legal and ritualistic aspects of Judaism, which are central to the priestly source, were a later development and not part of the original Mosaic tradition. Wellhausen's dating of the priestly source to the post-exilic period was based on several observations. First, the historical books that recount the history of Israel before the exile, such as Joshua, Judges, and Samuel, seem to be unaware of the detailed legal and ritualistic system found in the priestly source. Second, the priestly source often reflects concerns and themes that are more relevant to the post-exilic community, such as the importance of the temple and the priesthood. Finally, the priestly source's emphasis on purity and ritual reflects a concern with maintaining religious identity in a time when the Israelites were living in exile and facing the threat of assimilation. However, Wellhausen's theory has been criticized for several reasons. Some scholars argue that the dating of the priestly source to the post-exilic period is too late, and that it may have roots in pre-exilic traditions. Others point out that the priestly source's focus on ritual and law does not necessarily mean it was written after the exile. These themes could have been present in earlier forms of Israelite religion. Additionally, some scholars have suggested that the priestly source and the non-P material may not be as distinct as the JEDP theory suggests, and that they may have been more interwoven from the beginning. In recent years, there has been a revival of interest in the theory of separate J and E sources, led by a group of scholars known as the Neo-Documentarians. These scholars argue that the J and E sources can be clearly distinguished, and that they represent distinct literary and theological traditions. However, a majority of scholars tend to speak of P and non-P material, with non-P being the earlier and more varied source. Some have even suggested that non-P never existed as a continuous source, but rather consists of blocks of formerly independent stories that were later compiled into a coherent narrative. The debate over the dating and composition of the Pentateuch is not just an academic exercise. It has significant implications for our understanding of the history of Israel and the development of Judaism and Christianity. For example, if the priestly source is indeed a post-exilic document, it suggests that the legal and ritualistic aspects of Judaism were a later development and not part of the original Mosaic tradition. This has led some scholars to question the continuity between ancient Israelite religion and later Judaism, a view that has been controversial, especially among Jewish scholars who see the priestly source as a fundamental part of their religious tradition. The theory of multiple sources and the debate over their dating have also influenced the way we read and interpret the Pentateuch. For instance, the story of the covenant at Mount Sinai in Exodus 24, which we mentioned earlier, is a prime example of the complexity and interweaving of different sources. The narrative is not a smooth, linear account, but rather a composite of different traditions and perspectives. This complexity is evident in the inconsistencies and redundancies in the text, such as the multiple accounts of Moses ascending the mountain and the different groups that accompany him. One of the most striking aspects of the Pentateuch is its narrative coherence. Despite the multiple sources and the complex process of compilation, the stories of the patriarchs, the Exodus from Egypt, and the journey to the Promised Land are told with a consistency and depth that draw readers into the world of ancient Israel. This narrative coherence is the result of the work of skilled editors and scribes, who took earlier traditions and wove them into a unified whole. These editors, often referred to as redactors, played a crucial role in shaping the final form of the Pentateuch. The process of redaction involved more than just combining different sources. It also involved interpreting and reinterpreting the material to reflect the theological and political concerns of the time. For example, the Deuteronomist source, which is believed to have been written during the reign of King Josiah, reflects the religious and political reforms of that period. The Deuteronomist emphasizes the centralization of worship in Jerusalem and the importance of following the law, themes that were central to Josiah's reforms. Similarly, the priestly source, which is thought to have been written during or after the Babylonian exile, reflects the concerns of a community that was trying to maintain its religious identity in a foreign land. The Pentateuch is not just a historical document. It is also a religious text that has shaped the beliefs and practices of Judaism and Christianity for centuries. The stories of the patriarchs, the Exodus, and the giving of the law are foundational to both traditions and continue to be studied and interpreted by scholars and religious leaders today. The complexity of the text and the ongoing debates over its composition and dating reflect the dynamic and evolving nature of religious tradition. In conclusion, the Pentateuch is a rich and complex text that has been shaped by multiple sources, redactors, and historical contexts. The theory of JEDP and the debates surrounding the dating and composition of the Pentateuch have provided valuable insights into the development of ancient Israelite religion and the formation of the Hebrew Bible. While the debate continues, the Pentateuch remains a powerful and enduring text that continues to inspire and challenge readers today.